picklerecipe.com. I'm here with my daughter Adele, who's requested that I teach her how to make natural pickles. So I'm going to show you how to make the most basic pickles, and you can go to my blog and you can find more information from an older post I have about all the other things that you can add and extra tips. But I really just want to show that it is simple, it's easy, and basic pickles, it's really easy. So, what do I have here? I have today 5 packages of these overpackaged little baby pickles. You really do want the mini pickles or baby pickles, they come out the best. I have a nice beautiful bunch of dill that I borrowed from a neighbor because I forgot to buy my own. Salt, you don't want iodized table salt, you want natural sea salt or pickling salt. Kosher salt will also work, but it just takes a little bit longer to get it to dissolve in the water. I have water. I have a big bowl of cold icy water. It's really important. We're going to wash and soak the pickles a little bit in cold icy water. That leads to a crunchier pickle in the end. I have a funnel to add salt to my water and a big glass container that I'm going to use to put the pickles in, the cucumbers. And I also have a gallon Ziploc bag and this plate. Both of these two things are going to weigh down the pickles. Very, very important that every single bit of pickle or dill or anything you add stay completely submerged under the salt water. So, to start, I'm going to empty all of these into the water. You can help me with that. And I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of salt to, maybe we should wait, 3 tablespoons of salt to what I have here is 1.5 liters of water. I really just like doing it in a bottle. I'm not a huge fan of disposable bottles, but for this, it's really convenient. I usually actually use a 2-gallon bottle of water, 2 liter gallon of water, and pour out a little bit so that I have room to shake it. And this is going to make kind of a half sour pickle. Depending on the season and how sour you want your pickles and how much time you have, you could add more or less salt. So again, this is 3 tablespoons of salt for 1.5 liters of water. Winter is coming. It is November 3rd today, so I can do less salt and my kitchen is going to stay a little bit cooler. If it's summer, you want to add a little more salt to slow down the microbial action. And if it's the dead of winter, you could potentially have a little less salt. But I rarely do it with much less than this. You can also do it with almost any kind of vegetable. Generally prefer to use vegetables that are good eaten raw as well. Beets, kohlrabi, and carrots, like dill carrots are a classic. But my kids love the cucumber pickles. So, shake that. And while these are soaking in this icy water, and we're going to rub them to wash them all off, I'm going to wash and check my dill. And we'll pause here for a second. Okay, I am back with my clean dill and a few other extras that I'm going to throw in. I am going to peel this entire head of garlic. I'm going to also throw in some pepper, some whole peppercorns. Optional. Chili is also nice, fresh chili flakes. I actually like using chili that I've started to ferment a little bit to kick off the microbial action, but I don't have any right now. And I'm going to use some powdered turmeric. I prefer fresh or turmeric, which I've been fermenting, but I'm all out at the moment because we moved not long ago and had to purge our fridge. So then, why don't you start peeling that? You know how to do that? Okay, so you peel that while I start cutting my pickles, cucumbers. And we are going to cut off both sides, just a little bit from both sides of every single cucumber. I like to sort of group the ones that are similarly sized together, so I might start with all the big ones on the bottom and the small ones on the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a nice sized bunch of dill in the bottom. And you can see I put the pepper and whatever seasonings I want on the bottom so that they don't immediately float up to the top. So,
You were making it. kind of pickles.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you noticed, I have a couple towels here. The purpose of the towels is to prop this on an angle. Okay, I want the cucumbers to stay at the bottom, but I also don't want them to immediately fall over because I'm trying to get them to all stand up straight. So you'll see in a second. I line them all up. Like this, and I just keep going till it's all full. So we will pause there for a second and come right back. You can see this is filling up nicely. I've added a lot of the garlic underneath the first layer of pickles. And I also added some black tea. The tannins in black tea, grape leaves, or bay all help keep the pickles crispy. I couldn't find my bay leaves at the moment. I usually stick in a couple dry bay leaves. I think I used them all up to keep the bugs away. But I opened up a black tea bag and just sprinkled it in there. And you can see how it is filling up nicely, and they're all staying upright, which is why I have these towels here. After I finish packing this whole layer, and you don't want to smush the pickles, but you do want them packed pretty tightly because as they pickle, they'll loosen up, and you want to do everything possible to keep anything from floating up. So after I get the first layer packed in tightly, I'm going to add another layer of the dill and then keep going with the second layer depending on how many pickles I have, how many cucumbers I have. I usually do one more layer in this bowl. And then I will be back. So let's pause there. I'm throwing in the rest of the garlic. Okay. I'm just packing the rest of these pickles in. They're not all fitting, so I'm just going to throw a few around the top. I want to take a second to thank my 7-year-old cameraman who hopefully will allow me to upload this all in one shot since I really don't have time to edit, and anytime I put something aside that needs editing, it never gets posted. So hopefully I'll upload this right now and it won't be too bad. Here is our salt water all dissolved. Just gonna pour this over it until they're totally covered. I might need to make more salt water. It's gonna be the same proportion. It's about 1 tablespoon per half liter. Yeah, gonna need some more of that. So, stop there, pause. Pause. Okay. I'm going to need some more brine. Just want to talk a little bit about this water. I started with bottled water just for convenience. Mostly I wanted to use the bottle. You cannot use water with chlorine, so you're either going to want to be using bottled water, filtered water, boiled water, or water that's been sitting out for a while. And to wash my pickles, I actually in this case used water that was sitting in the fridge for a little while so it would be nice and cold. I'm going to finish covering the pickles completely. Really completely. Put this plate on top. And to be safe, I'm going to put the rest of my brine in a Ziploc bag. To keep everything weighing down nicely. The reason I'm using brine in a Ziploc bag is that just in case it were to get punctured or something, you don't want it watering down your pickles. So, that goes like that. How do you take care of these? How long does it take? It takes generally at least a week, 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the weather, depending on your brine content. You're going to see some bubbles, some foam. Those are really good signs that things are happening. You don't want to see any mold. Mold is bad. You can look online. Generally, you're going to be advised to throw it away if you see mold. So you want to take care of these things. The way you're taking care of them is mostly watching, making sure nothing floats up that could attract mold. If everything stays completely below the water level, they're going to stay safe. If anything floats, even a teeny piece of dill or a peppercorn, anything like that, it has the potential to get moldy, and then it can spread mold to the rest. They can also get what's called certain kinds of yeast. The yeast is okay. So you can look online to see different pictures of what's yeast, what's mold. Mold bad, yeast okay. You generally want to just keep wiping off any foams, yeasts, anything that builds up. Wipe it up, clean it up. You can take the bag off and wipe it off or rinse it off. But basically, you don't need to do much for at least a week, and then you can taste them. Thanks for watching. I will post a link to my original blog post so you can see lots of details. And I would be happy to get your comments. Have a good day.